violence. The anime is packed with intense battles and gore. The whole story revolves around Jinwoo gaining immense power, and this could feed into a desire for self-reliance instead of dependence on God. Supernatural elements that include monsters, demons, supernatural powers. This doesn't automatically.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to be looking at solo leveling and asking ourselves the question, is solo leveling Christian? Now, there is a video that a buddy of mine put out not too long ago talking through whether Christians should watch solo leveling. And in here, he relates solo leveling to Christianity in a way that I'm not sure if I fully agree. So I want to take a look with you and see what we think about this comparison in terms of solo leveling and Christianity. So let's take a look.
Violence. The anime is packed with intense battles and gore. The whole story revolves around Jinwoo gaining immense power, and this could feed into a desire for self-reliance instead of dependence on God. Supernatural elements that include monsters, demons, supernatural powers. This doesn't automatically.
One of the things that I'll say that I think is interesting, if you really do think about solo leveling, Jinwoo is leveling up somewhat solo, right? But at the same time, he is reliant on this system that is providing guidance to a certain extent, and it's also the thing that's helping him level up. So I mean, in that case, if you're thinking about the Bible and for example the Holy Spirit, you could make a correlation between the Holy Spirit that lives within Christians and the system that's helping Jinwoo. Although you got to be careful because the system also pushes him to kill, so
make it bad. But if this stuff is a struggle for you and you think that it'll be hard for your walk with Jesus, it's probably worth considering. But what I like to do is think about how anime can relate to our lives and more so point us to the Christian story. Jinwoo's journey reminds me of the Christian walk. At the start, Jinwoo, he's struggling just to survive, but after his awakening, he gains new strength and purpose. And this mirrors the Christian story, or Christians. We don't stay where we are when we start. Through Christ, we grow, we face battles, and we mature in faith, kind of like how Jinwoo levels up to face stronger enemies. Another theme I see is spiritual warfare. In solo leveling, hunters are given power to defend humanity against dark forces that threaten them. As Christians, we're not fighting dungeon bosses, but we do have real spiritual enemies that aren't for us. Ephesians 6 tells us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, against the powers of darkness." Just like hunters need strength to fight monsters, we need the armor of God to stand against spiritual attacks. But unlike Jinwoo, our power isn't found in ourselves or in a system, it's found in Jesus.
It seems like, some of the point here is that to an extent, Jinwoo's ability to level up and progress has made his journey a bit easier. The anime does make it seem like he's just so overpowered that he'll never get beat, that part of his journey has become easier for him. I will argue that in the Christian walk, it's at times you see the opposite, where at first when you start your walk with Jesus, you're very excited, you're on fire for the Lord, if you will, and you're just involved in everything. You're sharing your testimony with anybody that is willing to hear you because you're in this honeymoon phase, if you will. There does come a time where that does dwindle, and you have that the honeymoon phase is over, and now you do have to wrestle, right, with the Christian walk, with your life, with friends that are not Christians, with family that don't want you to be in the walk, and I would argue that it does become harder in some areas. And I think that it takes more perseverance to continue, and your walk does become tougher. Mainly because as God is sanctifying you, you are growing in your understanding of not only of God, but of your own human nature. And you start to understand how great God is compared to how flawed you are. And that in and of itself is also a struggle, because now you're seeing more things that are not according to what God would want from you. You need to make those changes, and you need to radically change your life in certain ways. And that in and of itself, I think it's a an increasingly tougher journey, although obviously more rewarding, if that makes sense.
So should Christians watch solo leveling? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not the Holy Spirit in your life. If solo leveling pulls you closer to God, great. If it distracts you, maybe reconsider if you should watch it. I think what matters is how do we engage with the media that we watch. And here are some questions to ask yourself. Does solo leveling pull me closer to or further from God? Does it influence my thoughts and desires in a Christ-honoring way?
What if it does neither? Right? I think that this is something also that I think we have to be realistic about. I think that there is some media, all the like etchy stuff and all that does draw you away from God, I would say. Most people don't have a struggle necessarily with violence. So there is, I think, this middle ground where anime is just entertainment. It's fun and it's not pulling you away from God and it's not pulling you closer, right? It's just something that you are doing. I will say, though, that if you are forsaking your responsibilities as a Christian to watch anime, that can actually be a potential issue. Interesting topic, though, for my Christian friends out there. What do you think? Solo leveling, Christian anime, should you watch it? Should you not? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, just want to remind you that we must persevere. Go to church. Peace.